and welcome back to another Tea Tuesday. Let's get into it. First, I have an update for you. I no longer, well, you can't really see it, can you? I don't have a cast on anymore, my ugly foot. I no longer have a cast. It got taken off last week or 2 weeks ago almost. And I can walk, and it hurts and it's painful, and I'm doing exercises, and it's going to be a process, but I'm doing much better. But this week, I'm going to talk about the good of staying in hospitals here in Korea before I get into the bad about being in hospitals. The good about being in hospital here, first, is the cost. Now, let me say this. I am American. I am comparing this to America and the prices in America for something like this, right? And I was in the hospital for a week and a half. I went in on a Sunday and I got out the following Tuesday. So not that Tuesday, but the one after that. I was let out of the hospital. I had surgery on Friday, and I had surgery. They had to cut me open in 3 different places because I fractured my ankle in 3 different places, and I needed surgery. I'm full of rods. I am full of metal, all of it. I have it inside of my leg right now. And it was not a hard surgery, but it was not an easy surgery either. Like, I was out for about an hour or 2 hours. The surgery itself was only an hour, but it was crazy. And surgery, staying in a hospital for a week and a half, and all of the medication and all of the stuff, food, etc., right, for being in a hospital. It only cost me a little over, without insurance, okay? This is without insurance. Let me preface that as well. Without insurance, it cost a little over 10 million won, which is about $10,000, okay? Without insurance. I have national insurance, okay? So the national health insurance in Korea. And with insurance, it cost me a little over 2 million won. Now, I also have private insurance through my school, so I should hopefully be getting some of that money back as well. But the 10 million, a little over 10 million for a week and a half hospital stay and surgery and everything that goes along with it, and it was only 10 million won, is crazy to me. And people were like, oh my God, that's so expensive. Koreans were saying that to me and stuff. And I'm like, I'm American. It's not that expensive, actually. I had to pay 2 million out of pocket, which sucked, but it is what it is, right? So the pricing is super cheap. Well, not cheap, but inexpensive compared to the US. This in the US would have probably been a couple K, 50K, and or more, probably. I don't even know. But yeah, it was relatively inexpensive. Aside from the cost, another thing that was extremely helpful to me, or good for me, were some of the nurses. Now, in Korea, it's expected that one of your family members or somebody will be there with you when you're in the hospital to do the small things like take your tray back after you eat your food, or help you to get to the bathroom, or go get you ice if you need ice, etc. There will be someone there with you to help you. That's expected in Korea. Well, my friends work, and that's all I have is my friends, and my family's not here, obviously, so I'm by myself. And the nurses knew that. And the people in my room knew that as well, and they were extremely helpful. Like they would be like, "Oh, go get her tray and like take it out for her or whatever," to their own helper or their family members, and they would just help me. But the nurses would also help me. I had a couple nurses who would, when it was their shift starting, they would come by at the beginning of their shift and see if I needed anything and check my ice and go and get me ice if I needed ice and ask me if my pain medication was okay, if I was doing okay, how I was feeling, etc. And then at the end of their shift, they would come and make sure I had ice and check on me and all of that. There was one in particular, well, there were two actually in particular that were extremely kind and extremely helpful in regards to like me being by myself. I can't walk. So they basically were like, "This is your wheelchair. Nobody else can have this wheelchair." So they would wheel it into the room. And like, if I had to get out of bed to go to the bathroom, I would hop into the wheelchair. Even though I was a fall risk, I would hop into the wheelchair and then I'd go to the bathroom. Well, if they saw me, they would help me. They would wheel me into the bathroom. They would help me get out of the wheelchair to get into the toilet, etc. I had, the two nurses in particular that were just extremely helpful. One of which wasn't actually a nurse yet. She was a 4th year nursing student, and she was doing her rotations, getting a feel for all of the different kinds of nursing that you can do, because I was in obviously the orthopedic floor, right? And so she was there for a week, and she was a doll, and her English was so good. So we would talk sometimes just randomly. She'd come by and we'd talk, and she was extremely helpful. And then the other one that was extremely helpful to me and like would help me go to the bathroom or get me ice whenever, even though it's not their job to do that, was one of the head nurses. She was in charge of our room, and she was like our half of the floor, because they're like 2 different halves to the floor. And she just, when she was on during the day shift, it was amazing. The night shift, on the other hand, oh, do I got some stories for you, but that's for next time. Until then, I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video, which again is the bad side of Korean hospitals. So, bye.